do you give it before these actually come off my TBR? Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am going to take you through all of the books that I got for Christmas this year. I bought a couple of these by myself. There are a couple that came from Secret Santa swaps, and there's one that I don't really know should actually be on this list. But I have got a couple of options now for what I'm going to read for the next couple of months. There's some non-fiction in here, there is some contemporary fiction in here, and there's a little bit of YA as well, just to keep me going. The first one is a book that maybe shouldn't be on this list, and it is And Away by Bob Mortimer. Bob is one of my favourite comedians at the moment, and that is also true for my dad and my brother, who bought this book for themselves, read it between the two of them, and said, this is something Aoife's going to really enjoy, let's give it to her when she comes home for Christmas. I then set myself the challenge of reading it within the 3 weeks that I was home. I have started it, I'm about 50 or so pages in, and it is exactly as you would imagine a book by Bob Mortimer to be. It's got a lot of heart because it starts out with the story of him being diagnosed with a serious heart condition that involved immediate emergency surgery. But you've also got quite a lot of stories that tie in with his appearances on Would I Lie to You, that tie in with his appearance on Taskmaster. It is a book that I think any fan of Bob's is going to absolutely cherish. Then we have got the books that I gifted to myself. There was a 3 for £6 paperback deal on the Brazilian River about 2 or so months ago, and I thought, you know what, treat yourself. It's been a year, give yourself a little treat. So I went for 3 books, all of which are from authors that I have never read before but really wanted to give a try. The first one up is This Green and Pleasant Land by Aisha Malik. I have never read any of her books before, but I have heard that Sophia Khan Is Not Obliged is kind of like a Bridget Jones for Muslim girls of today retelling. This one is about a very small rural English community that's very kind of white, Protestant, holds traditional values, and a Muslim family is campaigning to build a mosque there. You get the insight from the Muslim family themselves, but you also get the input of some people on the town committee. You get the insight of some people just from the town in general. I have a feeling that this is a book I am really, really going to enjoy. Next one up is To Love and to Loathe by Martha Waters. This is the second book in a series that I only discovered about 2 or 3 days ago. It's one that I hope I don't have to have read the first book in it to understand it and to enjoy it. As far as I'm aware, this is a historical fiction romance. I think it's kind of Regency era, which is something that I have never read anything from before. I've never really read a historical romance, but I love historical fiction. I love romance books. So I'm kind of thinking this is something that I might enjoy. This might be a really good introduction to historical romance, and then I can build up from there. And so the last book that I got in that 3 for £6 deal was Christmas at the Cupcake Cafe by Jenny Colgan. I've never read any of Jenny's books before, but she's an author that I've genuinely wanted to try for a really long time. I know that she is a really big name in your cozy, sweet, closed-door romances in the UK scene. This book is about Izzy, who runs the Cupcake Cafe, and it's coming up to Christmas, so it's a really, really busy time for her. Things are going quite well for her, not quite so much for Pearl and Catherine, her 2 staff members, but she's doing pretty okay with her life. Until her boyfriend comes home one day and tells her that he is being shipped off to the New York office of his company. So then Izzy needs to decide, is she going to go into a long distance relationship? Is she going to follow him? Where does her heart really lie, in New York or with her little cafe? I have flicked through this book, and something that I've noticed is that it has a lot of recipes in here for cupcakes and for cakes and for biscuits, and that is something that I absolutely adore about a book that's got food in it, so this is something that I think I'm going to enjoy either way. The last 2 books that I gifted myself were the 2 second books in the All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy by Jenny Han. I have the first book on my shelf here, and when I came home for Christmas realised I didn't have the second or third. So when my mother and I went shopping for our last minute Christmas presents and had some lunch out together, after lunch I excused myself, went to the local bookshop and bought the 2 of these. I've read them. I'm going to attempt to read them in German next year, but I think if I'm going to try and read them, I better reacquaint myself with what the story is like in English first. On to the gifts from friends. In one of my in real life friendship groups, we had a Secret Santa among ourselves, and one of the presents that I got was a copy of The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I adored this book when I read it, but I only had a Kindle copy, so I am now genuinely delighted to have a copy of it in a physical book that I can read anytime I want to. This follows Lucy and Josh, who work as the CEO assistants in a publishing company that has merged recently, and there is now a much bigger promotion on offer. Both of them decide to go for it, and both of them kind of make that each other's problem, in that they absolutely do not get along at the start of the book, but you can tell there's definitely something there between the two of them. They just haven't really noticed it yet. In my little booktuber group, Secret Santa, I was gifted 500 Miles From You by Jenny Colgan from Rosy from Sparkles Reads. Again, this is the second Jenny Colgan book that's showing up in this video, but I have genuinely wanted to try her for such a long time. This book sounds like it's absolutely going to be my kind of thing. This book is about Lisa and Cormac, who decide to swap lives because things are getting a little bit hectic for them. Lisa, for example, is working as a nurse in Scotland, and Cormac is living in the hustle and bustle of London. So they decide to swap lives, swap situations, swap homes, swap everything for 3 months to give themselves a breather, to kind of adjust to a new way of life and to just see what other people's lives are like. Then they start to notice that there is something missing from this new place that they are in. I wonder what that something missing could be. I also took part in the Secret Santa on the Ricochet Book Club Facebook group. I do that every single year, and this year I was very kindly gifted 2 books from a lovely woman called Marion. So I was first gifted Did You Hear Mammy Died by Seamus O'Reilly, which is something that I absolutely loved reading. I only had an e-copy of this one again, and so having an actual copy that I can read whenever I want to, that I can pass around to my family, because I know that my mum really wants to read this book, that is definitely something that I'm going to cherish. This is Seamus's memoir. He is one of the youngest of 11 children, and when he was 6 years old, his mother passed away from breast cancer. The book starts with his mother's passing and subsequent funeral, and the title comes from Seamus walking into a room and saying to everybody there as a greeting, "Did you hear Mammy died?" which is so childlike and innocent, but also a little bit poignant. It then chronicles what life was like for Seamus living in the house that he lived in Derry with his father and his 10 siblings, and how they kind of readjusted to not having their mother there. And then we come to a bit that I was given by my brother. It's a chunker. It is Best Wishes and Warm Regards by Dan and Eugene Levy. This is a kind of a run through of Schitt's Creek, one of my absolute favourite TV shows of the last couple of years. It's become a comfort show for me, and I have rewatched it twice already. I'm almost in the middle of another one right now. But this goes through all of the characters in the show, all of the episodes. It gives you a little kind of behind the scenes of what it was like to film each episode, how they cast each one of the characters, what it was like for them to get to know each other and then become like a genuine family as they were filming the show. I love this show so much, and this is a book that I am going to cherish for such a long time. So the last book that I'm going to show you is I Heart Christmas by Lindsay Kelk. This is the 6th book in the I Heart series, and I have read this maybe twice already, but again, only had this one as an ebook. As you can imagine, this is set at Christmas time in New York, and it is such an immersive experience to read it. If you've never been to New York at Christmas time like I have, this will genuinely give you such a vivid representation of what it's like to walk around Rockefeller Center where the big tree is, to drink a cup of eggnog, which sounds violently disgusting but is a Christmas tradition in the US, so you gotta get on board with it, to walk down Fifth Avenue and see all the lights on the streets. It's something that I have absolutely loved reading, and I think this year I'm going to try and get back to it for Christmas. Those are all of the books that I was gifted for Christmas, either by myself or very kindly from the goodness of other people. What books came onto your TBR for Christmas this year? Don't forget to like and subscribe, because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.